But Ella has created such a wonderful experience for her younger brother, Micah, that we wanted to give her the opportunity to present everything that she's set up to our families with younger learners, in the hopes that you might be able to learn something, might be able to take something away that that can help you through this time. So what we're going to do is Ella will tour you around the stations, explain what each thing is and how she's organized everything, and I will sort of manage the chat. So we'll go ahead and mute everyone, and if you have any questions, you can just throw them into the chat, and I'll ask them to Ella so she can explain as she goes along, and we don't interrupt the tour too much. So it looks like everyone's already on mute, and I'll manage the chat. So if you're not very familiar with Zoom, you can open up your chat below. There's a bar on the bottom. You just hit chat, it'll show up on the side, and that's where you can either just message me privately or
I
message
know,
us.
I'm familiar with it. I've used it for
Perfect. All right, Ella?
Okay, so like Samantha said, thanks for coming. This is the station area that I created in the garage for my brother. But the first thing that we do for stations is, I can't remember if Sparks do this at school, but we have a play plan right here, and we also have a decision wheel. And a decision wheel is what my brother uses at his school. So we have all of the decisions. We have dramatic play, light table, table toys, art, science, literacy, kinetic sand, Play-Doh. And then once he wants one, he'll put his clip on. So if you wanted literacy, we would put his clip on there, and then we could read books or do some sandpaper letters. Yeah. And we also, this is not all that we're having, because now we're having stations. We got some more stuff online, of course, because we need to get some activities for him. But I'll take you in, and I've organized all of my stations by category. So because there's only one thing in kinetic sand can just be on top of this freezer. So there's kinetic sand. But for everything else, except for Play-Doh, which is upstairs, and literacy, which is in the playroom, I have all of it out here in the garage. So first we have table toys, and table toys is one of his favorites. He really likes it. But we have lots of different categories. So we have a water pourer here, and we have a bucket that we can put the water inside, and then we can pour it in. And then you can also use this funnel and a little squeezer. So you can put the funnel in, you can put the funnel here, you can put it in here, squeezer in there. Here we have woodworking and construction, and in dramatic play we're actually going to get a construction worker set, so this kind of works out. But we have sandpaper, and we also have nails, so I can hold the nail and he can practice hitting it. And we just have a little block of wood. And then we also have some that he can use with a screwdriver if he doesn't feel ready to use the hammer. Going off of that, we had this before I actually did these stations, but in his playroom we had this, and I think the bolts work really well with this station. So yeah, here we have a Find It, like,
Is this live?
Mm-hmm.
It's an I Spy bag. I did not have these beads or the bag, so I decided to make it my own with some of these beads, and then I just kind of put in my own and inside of a container. So originally he'd pour in the beads, but he decided that it would be more fun to just play around with the beads and the objects anyways. So yeah, that's what he did. Moving on, I actually got this idea from Spark. I was in there for a little while because I was needing something, and I saw that they had pins and a piece of foam, Now, this isn't the exact same thing, but I think it's kind of similar. So I got out some, some bubble wrap, and Micah can practice cooking the bubble wrap. And then you can pick it up and take it. So that's just a fun little thing to work on his skills. Yeah. The next thing, which I'll bring out because it's more intricate, is a mini sandbox. So Mom had gotten this sand because she thought that it was a bulk load of sand and we were going to make him a sandbox, but instead it was small. So I decided to put it inside of this and put in some mini shovels and blocks. And so now it's a mini sandbox for his cars and construction workers. So mini sandbox, so you can fill this up. So yeah, this is just kind of a mini sandbox right now. And in this green box, there are dominoes. I know this one might be better for blocks, but I think that it works fine in toys because he can practice making structures. So dominoes, if you have them laying around the house, it can make a great station. If you have cars or little animals, you can make a house and it stays up. And then you just make a box to put them in. So that is the end of table toys. And now let's move on to science. So science is probably my favorite station. It has a lot of cool, intricate things that Micah can do, but in the same way, I want to do it too. So the first thing that we have is this, the magnifying glass station, because it's cool. Micah likes it. So if you have a magnifying glass, then I'm just using it.
Ella, you froze for just a second. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. So you can use a magnifying glass or and also a flashlight. But because my magnifying glass has a flashlight on it, you can use that. I can use this. So we have a magnifying glass, and then we also have this little brusher. And I think this is actually a nail brush or for scrubbing dishes, but it works fine to kind of just scrub off dirt on these fake bugs. So, and then we also have scissors, child-safe scissors, because if he wanted to go pick some grass or get some actual bugs, he could look at it with these scissors. And then we originally have bugs and with cards, so he can look at the cards and the bugs, see what's different, open it up, and if he wanted to look at a praying mantis, we could set it here. He could put the magnifying glass here, put the light on, look at it. So this is one of my favorite activities in the station. It's really cool. And then it can all be portable in this bucket, but this bucket also serves as a resting place. The next one I'm not going to move because it has vinegar. So this is the most common. It's vinegar and baking soda, and we have a kind of like a beaker here. But he can practice pouring in the vinegar and the baking soda, and then it'll make a big explosion. So that's pretty straightforward, and I'm sure that you have baking soda and vinegar in your house for baking, and if you don't, easy, you can get it on Amazon or at the grocery store. This one is my most recent. So idea from a website, and I got most of these from idea from a website. It's called goodhousekeeping.com. I use the keywords DIY projects for kids, and this came up. It's just 50 DIYs that you can make for little kids, and it's really cool, and then I just sorted it. But what you're gonna do is, if you have a tube, you can use a paper towel roll. I have this oil roll that my mom had. She has lots of these. Then you can get a towel with kind of a lot of holes inside of it, so you can see light through it, but it's not that holy, you know. So then you can wrap it around. I used a hair tie, but you use a rubber band. And then all you're gonna do is you're gonna add 1 part water. Wait, actually 2 parts. 2 parts of dishwasher detergent. And no, sorry, I get so scrambled up.
Yeah.
So 2 parts of
Dish soap.
dish soap. Sorry, I forget stuff. So 2 parts dish soap and 1 part water, and you're gonna fill. Mine says fill to the line, but it doesn't really count. I already used some of it, and then you can put it inside of a cup. Really, just find the most compatible. So it needs to be, and then you can shake it up. It has to be bubbly, but it shouldn't be too long.
Orange.
I asked, but the original recipe calls for food coloring. Because we don't use food coloring in my house, I added paint. It doesn't guarantee that it'll get the color through in the bubbles, but food coloring does. So if you have food coloring, make sure to use that. If you have paint, great. It could be cool for the colors, but it won't really show up in the bubbles. So how it works is you can open up the container. Mine is just a no-spill container, but any container works. And then you can pour it onto the plate, a paper plate. And then you'll spread around this, and then, well,
Oh. Cool.
so my brother loves bubbles, and I really didn't expect this to work, but it did. And it's really amazing how if you can find the right fabric, the bubbles will just go through the fabric, and that'll make it a kind of bubbly snake. So they're originally called bubble snakes. This
Lindsay,
is the
can
shape
you
that I
move
got.
us closer to the tube and everything? What that looks like?
Oh, yeah, to see it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Here, blow the bubble again. Ella.
Okay.
Cool, huh?
And then you should also have a towel handy because your kids are going to want to touch it, and when they do, it's going to get really sticky. So, yeah. So, I really didn't expect this to work as well as it did. I was like, oh, this isn't going to work. I don't have the right fabric. I don't know how to do it. Because actually, it had a link here, but I just looked at the picture. And so really, if you don't want to read a lot, just look at the picture, see what it says, and then you'll be able to make it. Or not. You should look at the link too. That's cool. So that's science. We're actually getting more beakers and test tubes and all of that stuff in an Amazon order, which should arrive Monday. But for now, we have 3 activities in the science station. So moving on to art, and this actually goes in dramatic. So in art here, Micah likes art, so I made more stations in art than I did, but to each his own. You can do more stations in science if your little kid likes explosions, you know, just whatever you like. So the first one is straightforward, sketch pad, and I had some glitter paper that's sticky on the back, so you can peel off the sticky and then make collages. Here is one that my brother did.
Ella,
So,
did you cut out the
add
shapes
markers.
ahead of time?
Yeah, it really doesn't matter what shapes you do because, well, your kid can cut out the shapes if you feel ready for him. Just use child-safe scissors or, you know, whatever you feel like. But I cut out the shapes because I knew that Micah's patience wouldn't last too long for this activity. I think that more activities mean that a longer patience scale versus only one activity where they'll want to do something else, or flipped, vice versa. So you really have to see, but I cut out them just mishmashed because it doesn't really matter with a collage. collage. You can make a shape with anything that you want. So the next one is a bubble wrap print. So first you're gonna put paint on your plate, and I use lots of plates for this because I didn't want it to get on paper because paper is kind of flimsy. And then you'll make a bubble wrap stamp. So I just got a container, put in some bubble wrap, and then I didn't have small bubble wrap, but small bubble wrap is preferable because it'll make a better print, but I didn't have that. So this worked for him and me. So you can dab it in the paint and then put it on a piece of paper, which is originally that. This is what it turns out. And then obviously the color's mixed here, but if you want to use more colors, you can. And so because our theme is spring, my next activity was spring themed, and it kind of comes with a backstory. But I remember that the Indians used to put beads on feathers. So my brother can practice stringing beads onto feathers, and he can also watch how the beads change, how the feather's shape is. So then I can tie off the end, and I just put a little piece of tape at the end so that the beads wouldn't fall off. And yeah, and I remember that the ancient Indians, or whatever you want to call them, South Americans, they did that. So the next one is a glow lantern. And my parents and I decided that we didn't want to hand out candy at Halloween. So instead we use glow sticks, but every year we buy too many glow sticks, so we always have leftover. Now, you can get these at a lot of places, mostly around Halloween, but if you do your digging, you can find these. These are glow sticks, as you can see. And I have 2 colors of glow sticks that I kind of split up. And then you can get 2 jars. They don't have to be glass, but I only had glass, so for this example, I'm just going to use glass. And then when you're ready, you can crack the glow stick to make it fit inside of here and really shake them up so that they're really glowing. Then, as this example, but the glow sticks are already out, so it only lasts for a few hours. But you can put them inside, and you can add glitter, which I don't have because I didn't want them spraying glitter everywhere, and glitter glue for which color you want. And then you can put them inside, put the lid on, and shake it up. And then you can go into a dark space. I went into the bathroom and turned off all the lights because there are no windows in the bathroom. And you can see it glow. And because the light in the glow stick kind of directs its light elsewhere, it'll glow through the glitter, and it'll make the glitter look like it's glowing. So that's why I liked this one the most. Next is something that I found. I'm not going to explain it because you probably won't be able to find it, but you can make something like it. So it's really finger paint printing art set. It's from Safari. It comes with colored pencils, but of course you can bring your own colored pencils, and then ink pads. But if you have an ink pad, you can use that also, and then you can print your finger in, or you can print some Safari themed pictures in, which you can do, but that would be a little bit difficult. But really you can just print your finger in, and then you can stick it somewhere. So my brother hasn't done this, so I don't have an example to show you, but I know that when I had really a lot of fun with this, I just found it again, so I think he's gonna like it.
Ella, I'm just going to chime in for a second to remind parents who didn't maybe joined us a minute late, just that if you guys have any questions at all about what you're looking at or where to find things, or you can write them in the chat, and I'll be asking them to Ella if anything comes up.
Okay, so the last station or activity in the Station of Art is a cutting and stacking activity. So I just got some construction paper and some scissors, and my brother can practice cutting out shapes. So most people know what a circle is, so if I drew a circle on it, I could say, okay, Micah, cut this out. And then he can pick which one. I also have some of this, which is already cut out. It's just flowers, and then he can glue that on. But if you don't have that, that's fine. Then I made these. I call them sticky stacks. They're not sticky at all. I just call them sticky stacks because they're sticks and they stack. And then I put a little slit at the top of each one, and
a little closer.
A slit on top of each one, and a slit at the bottom. So then the wall, you could put them together, and then these would be here. Then you could stick this one in here.
And those are just craft sticks.
In here.
I honestly don't know how she comes up with all these things.
So you could make it like this. I did it with colors. It's really easy in jumbo packs in these colors. So it took a little bit of hard effort because you don't want the stick to break while you're cutting it. But with those that did come out, I made 2 of each color, and you can get these in jumbo pack at a craft store or on Amazon. And I added these together because I didn't really think that this should be a station on its own. I wanted to make it so if you wanted the flower to be in the house, you can make the house with the sticky stacks. So if you wanted a circle rug to be in the house, Micah could cut out a circle rug. So that's the last station in art. Then we have 2 more stations.
Where did you get the cutout flower paper? Was that something you bought, or did you have a stamp that cut it out?
I think that was something that I bought a long time ago, which I don't remember.
I don't remember that.
But
I wonder.
We kind of gather things as we find them, and if we go to a craft store and I say, oh, that's cool, and then I don't really need it, then I just throw it somewhere in my space. But it's really messy right now, but that's because I've been creating this.
Okay.
But I don't know where I found those, but I'm sure that you can get cut out pieces of hearts or circles or triangles somewhere, shapes. So here's dramatic play, and dramatic play is kind of hard to create because if you don't have costumes,
which we don't,
but we're getting 2, a firefighter and a construction worker, which is what I was telling you about on the woodworking set and the nails. But I did try and make some things. So I made a decorate your own spyglass kit, and then also Mom and my brother did some of that with toilet paper rolls. But you can just gather some when you are done with them. And then you can paint them. If you have a hot glue gun or just regular drippy glue, you can put on pom-poms or sequins to make them glitter. But it's not actually glitter, so it won't get everywhere. So those are 2 activities that kind of merge together. And then this one I'm not going to talk too much about because, like I said, kind of like the flowers, I can't tell you where to get it, but if you find something like it, then that's great. This one's just a magnetic making faces, so you can open it up and there are faces inside.
Can you zoom in a little bit on that, Lindsay?
Yeah, it's like it's like a Mr. Potato Head, but flat with magnets.
Oh, okay.
We actually bought it at a garage sale.
Yeah. So, sorry, but if you find, I'm sure that every house has something like that. Where
or Mr. Potato Head would be good. Okay.
Yeah.
So for here I have a detective kit because I wanted, dramatic play is like a play on, so it's like pretend. So you can pretend to be a detective. So for here, it's working on patterns, and then I had another magnifying glass, and you can use it as a detective to detect a pattern or clues. So
I put in some of the same colors of pom-poms in this egg carton. And Micah, my brother, can try and make a pattern. So if he wanted to do pink, green,
You could even
green.
put the patterns on cards for them to follow. I don't think the 3-year-old could do it, but I think a 4 or 5-year-old or 6-year-old could definitely do that.
And my brother likes sorting, so this works for him. But you can age it up for your age level. And then when you're done with making a pattern, and a reminder is a pattern can be anything because you might not see the rest of the pattern. So if you wanted it to be completely random, that's fine too. Doesn't matter that much. And then as a detective, you can look at the pattern and see where things can go. So this is just a small little station that I threw together because I wanted more stations in dramatic play. But yeah. And the next one is gonna be this is my favorite one in dramatic play. They're called story stones. And I actually also have story cards, but I decided not to use those because story stones are fun too. So these are story stones. You can paint on them, but because I was using paint for a different station, I decided not to use it. And so painting rocks can get kind of messy when you want it to be instant. So I decided to use markers. Now, as you can see, maybe you can't see, but I drew little faces with silver marker on it. So this is a happy face, and this is a sad face, and then my brother drew over it because that's kind of the point. This is a house. So yeah, and he drew over them because he's my brother, and that's the point. But then, if you have a patch of grass, but if you don't have a patch of grass, you can always use green felt. Or if you wanted it to be a river, you could use a cutout of blue felt. So here's the house. You could put the house here, and the happy face walks up, and he goes inside the house, behind the house. So my brother obviously likes this one because he's drawn all over them, and I can see him playing with it. So yeah. All right, one more station left. This one's kind of straightforward, blocks. So we have these live blocks that we had when I was his age. When I was 3 or 4, I had these blocks. They're live blocks, so this is from a tree, and there's some bark on it. But if you don't have that, then you can always just use these square blocks. I'm sure that you have those. So, and then we also have this farmhouse. But if you have a real farmhouse, you can use that. And I think lots of people gravitate towards farm, but a lot of kids actually like it. So even though it's normal and generic, you can still use a farm idea because it makes sense. Hey, farms are cool. There are lots of animals, lots of moving things, so yeah. So that's this one. And then the last activity is just these regular blocks. So you stack them. It's really straightforward. So that is the stations. There are a few more things in here that I thought I should note. I used tape and marker to tape off the stations, which I put in a bucket there just so that if it wears off, then I can draw it again. And I also got these clips, these clothespin. It's a kind of like a clothespin board. And I got that a while ago because it was supposed to be in my art area. But I decided to move it over here because I knew that Micah had a lot of things that he wanted to showcase. And so this is the bubble wrap art, the collage art, and then this is just some watercolor painting that they did, that Mom and Micah did during station time. And so I moved that over here on some folding chairs because I didn't have anywhere else to put it. And then also, I have a drying rack. We had this to dry clothes, and then we decided not to use it, but it's just a drying rack. So I took some of the artwork that was from the drying rack and put it up there so that Micah could see it. You don't have one of those, the clothespin hangers. Just use clothespins, and then you can put those on a kind of like a cardboard piece, and then you can stand that up somewhere. That could be a cool design. So that's really all of the station. One thing, the last thing that I wanted to say is really find a place that you think would be the best for this. For science, there are some explosive things, and we don't want to do that inside, and that's why we can just open the garage and our driveway on our back, or our grass is there, so we can do the station on our grass. So really find a spot that's good for you. This spot is right next to my art area, so if I wanted to move something over really quickly because I knew that it was going to fall down, we'll put it inside of Micah's station area. So thanks for watching. I hope you got some really cool ideas, and I loved answering some of your questions. I know some of the things that I have can't be with you, like the fingerprinting set or the making faces, but if you wanted to make a smiley face piece or some eyes, you could do that, and your kid could have just put a little face or put a little mustache, some hair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ella. Here's all you. Thank you for sharing your hard work with everyone. Just a couple questions floated in. One, which station has been Micah's favorite? And which does he spend the most time in?
Okay. I think that table toys or art.
Yeah, he liked this pool noodle thing, and he liked the little sandbox in the box.
We played with the pool noodle, the
water.
You can pour in the water.
He liked that.
The funnel. We played with that for kind of 30 minutes, so I knew that he really liked that. And then he also really likes the mini sandbox.
Okay.
Those he spends lots of time on. And art, I think that would be his paint.
Anything involving paint.
Paint is really cool. So
he liked the science stuff. He was curious.
the bubble maker and the explosive.
Yeah.
The baking soda and the vinegar, that was really cool. So those are his two favorites, I think.
We haven't gotten to everything yet.
Yeah. There's still more to come. We've gotten some stuff, lots of stuff.
Every time he comes out here, can we do stations? Micah is 3, by the way. Someone asked how old he was. He is just 3 in December.
And how much time does he spend on an activity, usually?
Well, we have 45 minutes for stations every day. So he'll, usually he'll do 2 or 3 in that 45-minute slot. Yeah.
Most of the time, I want to do a station and I pull him into it. So I suggest that if you let them get in flow, and I really want to do the science, and I really, really want to look at the bugs, but he doesn't want to do it, and I force him to do it, 5 minutes. But if he really wants to do the bubble wrap art, then he'll probably spend 15 minutes because he really wants to do it. So make sure that your judgment isn't involved, because if someone wants to do, I don't know, the rock story stones, then let them do it because he wants to do it and it'll take up more time.
That's really fun. All right, any other questions for anyone? Ella, you got this inspiration because you were trying to you're creating a setup for Micah to help sort of simulate what his experience has been at his school, right?
Yeah.
Thus far.
Yeah. So at school, stations is a big part of their day. After every school, during dinner, we'll say, what station did you do? And he'll say blocks or table toys or dramatic play. And we'll ask him, well, what did you do? And he said, in dramatic play, I dressed up as a princess.
Yeah.
So it's big. We talk about school a lot. And he always loves talking about school. So I decided to bring school to home because we can't go to school anymore. But one thing that I did want to say is to use keywords when you're trying to look things up. For me, I found this Good Housekeeping website. I got 25 of my ideas here from Good Housekeeping. So this is the Story Stones, but Good Housekeeping is really fun. You can look up some things I wasn't able to create. I really wanted to make like a tissue box monster. You just paint a rectangular tissue box, the opening, or you can put white triangles in it, and it can be teeth, and then you can put googly eyes and pom-poms on it, which would be a tissue box monster. But we don't use rectangular tissue boxes. So at school,
We do have one, but we just aren't finished with it yet.
yeah, you kind of have to have the right timing. But if you're
Yeah.
at school, you can ask kids, oh, hey, do you have any rectangular tissue boxes? We're going to make monster tissue boxes. So you can do that. But I didn't have it, which is unfortunate because it was probably my favorite. But if you look up something like DIY science projects for kids or DIY block ideas or, you know, for kids, if you look up for kids, it'll probably show younger kids more than older kids, because for older kids, you can do older kids. But for kids, it'll probably show up from 4 to 5 because that's prime kid age. So I found it was saying DIY projects for kids. And that's how I found the website. So thanks so much for watching. I had a lot of fun showing you my stations, and I really hope that you got some good ideas from it.
Thank you, Ella. Everyone enjoy your Sunday, and we'll be in touch tomorrow.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Bye.